Okay, well, everybody seems very excited. Ashley, are we ready to,
We are. Thank you, Chair.
all right, thank you. I'll call this meeting to order. The first order of business, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you very much. If I could please get a roll call.
Alternate Commissioner Wong. Alternate Commissioner Lyon. Commissioner DeGravina.
Here.
Commissioner Gage. In the back. Commissioner Davis. Here. Commissioner Simon. Here. Commissioner Anderson.
Yeah.
Vice Chair Fay.
Here.
And Chairman Munt.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, we'll move into discussion and approval of the agenda, which we did not have a study session today. So we did not have any discussion of it yet, so it's all very fresh for us. So let's take a look. And if anyone has anything, currently we have the consent agenda consisting of item 4, S2503 Willowbrook, and it's a request to continue. Oh, so do I need to yank that off to request that? Or am I able to do the continuance? Okay. So that can stay. And then we have number 5, GP2503 Harvest Grove, Z2503 Harvest Grove, and number 6, GP2502 Harvest Grove Neighborhood Commercial, and Z2508 Harvest Grove Neighborhood Commercial. Anyone have any reason? Well, I know there's comments in the back, so we can't move those to consent, so we'll leave it as is. So I guess I will entertain a motion if anybody has one.
Chairman Munt, I move to approve the agenda as written.
Motion by the Vice Chair. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Simon. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, moving right along, communications. Communications from citizens. At this time, members of the public may comment on matters within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. The Commission may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to state law, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling that matter for further consideration. I can see Ashley's bringing some cards. And, oh, okay. And we do have some citizen input. Okay, so first up, I would like to call Rob Guderian. He wishes to speak during public comments. So please come up, sir, and come to the podium there. And there's a little red button with a, I guess like a voice guy on it. Hit that, and then 3 minutes.
Thank you. Members of the Commission and Town Planning staff, my name is Rob Guderian. I'm a resident of Gilbert. I live in 331 North Riata Street. I've been here before the last couple meetings, and I'm here again to raise concerns about an item that's not on the agenda that I feel should be on the agenda, and that's the development of 33 North. This is at Lindsay and Elliott. This is a small infill subdivision. I think I've sent you an email. Hopefully you got that last week, and that was distributed to you with, again, my many concerns about how this is going forward and how this is being processed with the developer Woodside Homes. Today, about an hour ago, I got the results of a information request from the town of Gilbert that I filed about over a month ago, requesting all the email communications between Woodside and the town of Gilbert. And I was extremely dismayed to find significant factual misrepresentations and out-and-out lies from Rob Flitton in emails directed to town planning staff and to you, the commission. I will provide an email and I will highlight these for you this week. I have also let you know that their surveyor EPS group is now under investigation by the Arizona State Board of Public Registration, the guys that license the surveyors. because their survey initially was fraudulent. It claimed our walls as 50/50 shared property. I came to you 3 years ago, let you know that was not true. I came to you in April and let you know that was not true. And I feel like I've been disregarded by the commission and by the planning staff. And this development keeps going forward. I was told by planning staff that no building permits would be issued, yet you gave them a permit to build a boundary wall. They built it over the boundary line. You gave them a permit to do grading. They pushed dirt over the property line up against our fences, which are not rated as retaining walls. So I'm just waiting when they're going to build a house and you're going to go forward with this. I have been in contact with town planning staff. They are somewhat helpful in communicating to me what the plans are, but I've only had a chance to go through one of about 250 emails from Woodside Homes. And to find that one email, February 24th, from Rob Flitton, full of material misrepresentations, makes me wonder how many other times do developers come to you, misrepresent the facts, and you guys don't fact check them at all. I feel like I have put hundreds of hours into this just trying to defend my property. Thousands of dollars in attorney's fees, research fees, survey fees, and we, my neighbors and I, have been correct every time. Yet I feel like I'm fighting the town planning commission, town planning staff, and Woodside Homes. So I am a little critical of you. I have asked you and I'm going to ask you again. Please rescind the approval that you granted in June of 2022 for this development. Their latest bid is to modify the open space plan, which means they no longer have a drainage plan, they don't have a grading plan, their lot fit analysis doesn't work. It's a do-over. Besides that, they had to refile a plat in July that still has significant survey issues. If no action is taken and they are found to be in violation of Arizona State Boundary Survey minimum standards, you're not going to have any surveys for this development. Send this thing back to the beginning. No offense against town planning commission or town planning staff, but subdivisions like this aren't meant to have every single point redone by a single individual town planning staff member. You were given a false fraudulent survey in June of 2022 and you approved. You didn't know it was fraudulent back then, but you do now. I've given you ample evidence of that. So do the right thing and please put an agenda item on next month's meeting, revoke this, start from scratch, get a good code compliant solution. These guys are trying to build 12-inch wide double walls. They're trying to amend open space without anything, and it's enough is enough. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, Karen Pierce, wishes to speak during the public comments. Please come up and same thing, state your name and then 3 minutes. Thank you.
Anything?
No, he left, it's red, so you're
Okay.
good.
My
You
name
can
is,
pull it towards you so that it, there, yeah.
okay. My name is Karen Pierce. I have 3 daughters, and 2 of them attend Perry High School. Sometimes my daughter rides her bike to school. Often I see the high school cross-country team runners running along Val Vista and Queen Creek Road by the school. For the safety of the kids at Perry High School, I asked that the zoning not be changed from how it is now. I believe that it would be more dangerous for the students to have more traffic right next to their school. I think it is irresponsible to think about increasing the number of people and traffic that would result from these pieces of land being rezoned to allow a greater number of people to occupy the space in between the street from a huge high school. There are a lot of kids that go to Perry High School. I actually called today, and there's 2,300 kids that go to Perry High. There's a lot of kids that live close by who have to walk and ride their bikes because they won't be bused because they live within a certain distance of the school. For the safety of the kids, I ask that the rezoning not be changed. I also think it makes sense to match how big the lot sizes are on the west side of Val Vista Road and to keep the lot sizes the same on both sides of the street. I absolutely am against the rezoning of these 2 parcels of land. I don't want there to be double the amount of people across the street compared to how many people I have in my neighborhood right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else that had any comment on items not on the agenda that they wish to speak on? Sir, if you could grab a yellow card, well, and you can do it after. Oh, did? I filled out a yellow card. Well, and that's on the item, actually. And I was gonna say, you'll have a chance to talk when we get into item number 4. So that was, and actually, Miss, I think you might have meant to talk on item 4, but that's okay. That's my fault. But nonetheless, when we get to that item, I'll bring that public comment. So, With that then, we will move to the next section, which is the report from the council liaison on current events. And I know that Councilman Lyons had told me earlier he won't be here this evening. So we will just go past that. And into the public hearing consent calendar. All items listed below are considered the public hearing consent calendar. The commission may, by a single motion, approve any number of items where, after opening the public hearing, no person requests the item to be removed from the consent calendar. If such a request is made, the commission shall then withdraw the item from the public hearing consent calendar for the purpose of public discussion and separate action. Other items on the agenda may be added to the consent calendar and approved under a single motion. Currently, this consent calendar is item 4, S2503 Willowbrook. I do not have any comment cards from anyone in here that wish to speak, but I want to at least survey the crowd that if anyone is here to speak on this and wants it removed. Okay, so then in that case, and of course, this is a request to continue to November 5th, 2025. And so that will be reflected in the vote for consent, and I will entertain a motion.
Chairman Munt, I move to approve the consent agenda as written.
Thank you. We have a motion by the vice chair,
Second.
second by Commissioner Simon. Please cast your vote.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that was the one that I wanted to speak about. Is that coming up later?
Okay, please cancel that vote. All right. I'm going to go back then. I completely blew that. I even looked at the number 4 and I said it, and then I went right through that. This almost, my bad. Okay. So with that, then, we're going to have to remove this from the consent calendar. We can then vote on it, but we will allow the public comment. So, consent calendar canceled. Now, Elena, from a legal vantage point, what do I need to do because I just called a vote? She's like, I don't even know what to do with this guy.
Mr. Chair, who initially made that motion?
Vice Chair.
Vice Chair, if you can withdraw your motion, and Chair, if you can proceed from that, I think that'll be sufficient.
Okay, I move to rescind my previous movement.
Okay, movement
A
rescinded.
motion to rescind my motion.
All right,
If
so
it's-
that motion's
if-
rescinded.
Well, if it's by motion, it'll need to be seconded, but you can request to withdraw your motion as well.
I'd like to withdraw my motion.
We have a request for withdrawal. Is there a
I'll
second
second the
withdrawal? Second? Yeah, okay.
We have to vote on it, or
Take
can we
it
just, can I just withdraw it?
Should we vote on the withdrawal? Oh, my God.
Let's go ahead and vote on the
All
withdrawal.
right, please vote on
and
the
then we'll
withdrawal.
start over.
Essentially unvoting.
Yeah, undo.
Well,
We're voting yes to withdraw.
yes is to withdraw.
Yes is withdrawal, yes. Okay, the motion to withdraw is gone. Okay, so since we have an item that is, we have someone wishing to speak, we are going to take item 4 off of the consent, leaving the consent void. Therefore, moving on to the public hearing non-consent. Non-consent public hearing items will be heard at an individual public hearing and will be acted upon by the commission by a separate motion during the public hearings. Anyone wishing to comment in support of or in opposition to a public hearing item may do so. If you wish to comment on a public hearing item, please fill out the comment card indicating the item number on which you wish to be heard. Once the hearing is closed, there will be no further public comment unless requested by a member of the commission. So with that, we will open up item number 4, S2503 Willowbrook, and because it is being continued, we won't have presentations, but we do have public comment, and I would like to ask Mr. Rob Van Bieber. He wishes to speak. Please come up, state your name, and then 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you. I'm Rod Van Beber, and I live in the Marathon Ranch development, just contiguous to the proposed Willowbrook. And we came to the town council meeting a couple weeks ago, and they have instructed the traffic people to come up with some different ideas about how we may calm traffic or deal with traffic absent a traffic light or including a traffic light there. And the reason I came and wanted to address the commission, and I thank you for this opportunity, is because I read a report in one of the newspapers or articles or something that indicated that you, Mr. Munt, and you, Mr. Fay, had kind of, during the approval process before, kind of indicated that the traffic wasn't a big deal, that, a lot of residents just kind of, you never get a proposal that doesn't involve somebody claiming about, more traffic and that kind of stuff. And so I understand that you must get a lot of things like that you have to deal with. But I wanted to bring to your attention that ABC 15 did some digging on this whole development, and they went to the Gilbert Police. And I just wanted to go on record as saying that I would like you to revisit this whole traffic thing. And according to the Gilbert Police, they've written over 300 citations on that stretch of Riggs Road this year so far by the end of August, over 300 citations. And I just wanted to ask you to consider that when you consider whether or not the people of Marathon Ranch and surrounding communities are being real about what the traffic issues are. As I told the town council, Riggs Road really should be called Riggs Highway. And there's very few businesses along Riggs. Everybody uses that section of Riggs to go someplace, going from Queen Creek and Santan Valley to Chandler and back and forth. The traffic at rush hour in the morning around Basha High School. The traffic gridlocks now on Riggs. Come out there and look at the traffic at 7:15 in the morning, and it gridlocks all the way back past 154th, almost all the way back to 156. And so we do have some traffic issues there, and I just want to go on record and say that, I know you get a lot of people that claim a lot of problems with traffic, but we really do have issues with traffic there. And I don't know, I think the solution is a traffic light. Maybe the solution is getting rid of the median in the middle of the road and letting us have a left-hand turn merge area that we can pull out when one side's clear and wait for the other side to be clear. Maybe that would be a way to do it. But with over 300 citations issued by the Gilbert Police Department, it is an issue, and I thank you for your attention.
All right, thank you, sir. And once again, my apologies for my absent-mindedness. Okay, so then with that, we will do a vote on this, and I'm hoping that part of the reason that it's continued is to look into the issues that were spoken about. But I will entertain a motion to approve the request to continue to November 5th.
Chair, can I ask a question before we do that?
Yes, sir.
So the lady that was up earlier, she was here to speak on item 4, is that correct? Item
No,
5.
five.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve item 4 to be continued until November,
We have a motion for.
even though it's not on consent. I think I'm doing this right,
Yep.
right? Okay.
Sir, if we can have a date certain, November 5th.
Yeah.
November 5th?
Okay, we have a motion from the vice chair. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Commissioner DeGravina coming through. Please cast your votes. Motion carries. The item will be continued to November 5th, 2025. Okay, now on to the next item, item 5, GP 25-03 Harvest Grove, and Z 2503 Harvest Grove. And we will bring up Keith.
Chair Munt, members of the Planning Commission, good evening. So my item that is before you tonight, I have 2 items. This is, the first one here, which I know will take a bulk of the time, is for the Harvest Grove development. As you already stated the case numbers. The site is located at the southeast corner of Germain Road and Val Vista Drive, and you can see it there highlighted in the exhibit that's in front of you. The project site is about 311 acres approximately, and it excludes that little tiny piece out in the corner, the far bottom left-hand corner, which is my next project on the agenda tonight. So just want to give you some context. This is in the south of the Gilbert Mercy Hospital, in that whole corridor right there, close to the Loop 202. Request before you tonight is for a minor general plan amendment on 179 approximate acres of that larger 311-acre property, and then a PAD rezone on the whole entire development. So before I start and getting into the meat and potatoes here tonight, I just wanted to show you kind of a little overview here, kind of a outline of what we're going to go over. We'll go over the general plan and rezone request slides. Then we'll go over some open space, the open space plan. Traffic and circulation will be next, and then the phasing of the development, and then the deviations that the applicant is proposing, and then public participation. And then I don't have it on here, but I'm going to go over some revised conditions with you that I actually handed out to you before the meeting. Okay, so the general plan and the rezone. So the first request by the applicant is to change the existing general plan designation on about 179 acres of the 311-acre site. You can see on the screen in front of you that the existing general plan designation of residential 2 to 3.5 is over the entire property right now. And the graphic to the right shows the areas that will be changed. There is that yellow color kind of in the middle. Those areas will not be changed, so that's why only 179 acres approximately are being changed, and you can see all the different color patterns of the areas that will be changed. So of that area that will be changed, there's 35, I'm just going to do approximate numbers here, approximate 35 acres of regional commercial will be added, is proposed, about 43 acres of 3.5 to 5 dwelling units per acre, about 38 acres of 5 to 8 dwelling units per acre, about 35 acres of 8 to 14, about 17 acres of 14 to 25 dwelling units per acre, and about 9.5 acres of the higher density category between 25 and 50 dwelling units per acre. So obviously, as you can see, the property includes a good mixture of regional commercial and three multifamily designations, townhomes and alley-loaded product, and all these things are proposed, and you can see that there's a blue line on the screen in front of you on that graphic on the right. Everything to the north of that line is in the Santan character area. Everything to the, is outside of the Santan character area. I stand corrected. Everything below that line, the bottom 75%, is in the Santan character area. So I just wanted to bring that up to you. So the next slide is existing and proposed zoning. So the zoning is being changed on the whole entire property. Currently today, there's about 242 acres of single-family 35, and these are all approximate numbers, 68 acres of SF15. Those will be changed to the numbers that you see on the screen. I don't think I'm going to go over all those numbers this time, but you can see that there's a good mixture of different zoning districts. Regional commercial, you have that's in the top half that's outside the Santan character area, and you have also a multifamily medium apartments zoning outside of the Santan character area to the north, and then multifamily high, which a portion of it's inside the character area and a portion of it's out. Goes kind of through the middle of it or through the top half. And then you have MFL, you have some SFA, single family attached, you have single family detached, single family 6, which are 6,000 square foot minimum lots, and then single family 8, which is 8,000 square foot minimum lots. So a good mixture of zoning spread throughout the whole entire project. Okay, this slide shows a color version of the development plan. There is a black and white version of the development plan in your packet as well. This one shows better detail. This illustrates the overall design of the site. So the site, as I stated already, covers about 311 acres. and will include about 1,739 dwelling units. Of the, excuse me, of those dwelling units, about 1,013 of them are single-family homes, which are located mainly in the Santan character area south of that blue line, and it extends all the way down to Queen Creek Road. Lot sizes range from 1,650 square feet up to 10,800 square feet. The plan also proposes a 726 multifamily units. So about 500 units of that 726 are located in the MFM zoning district, which is about 18.8 dwelling units per acre, and also within the MFH, or multifamily high zoning district, which is about 28.3 dwelling units per acre. And both of those developments for the, well, half of the MFH and all of the MFM are outside of the Santan character area. And they're at the north end of the development. So the MFL piece in the bottom left-hand corner is 230 units, and that is about 8.42 dwelling units per acre approximately. And that is at the south end, as I stated. So a design for the multifamily low piece in the southwest corner of the development will come before staff later for review. We don't have timing on that, but we don't have specific design detail for that. And the overall density of the development is about 5.59 dwelling units per acre. Site access will be provided by 5 major entrances, 1 off Germain Road, and 3 off of Val Vista Drive, and 1 off of Queen Creek Road. Hopefully you can see those pretty well on this plan. There'll be some other plans later that might show them better. Each entrance ties into a collector street. The one that goes from, there's one central spine collector that's a mile long that will carry a majority of the traffic and feeds residents into their sub-neighborhoods and subsequently onto their local streets that feed their houses. Secondary dead-end spurs at the north and south ends on the eastern boundary, which is called what we call Coronado Street, feeds, there's 2 entrances off of there. I wish I had I don't know if I have a good laser pointer for you here. So there's an entrance here off of Coronado, and then there's another entrance down here. And Coronado dead ends at this point. Sorry, my hand's pretty shaky. And then it ends up over, like right up in here, over in here somewhere. So there's this whole middle gap that the applicant is not proposing to go through. And this is for secondary access to a few of these homes, lots for over in here to get to their homes. Next, I would like to highlight a few of staff's concerns. Please note that many of our concerns and reasons for the recommendations of denial that you see in your staff report deal with safety and traffic-related concerns. Because of that, here in just a few minutes after I speak, I will turn the time over to our town engineer, Susanna Struble. She'll come up and go over some of those traffic and safety concerns. But prior to her coming up, I just wanted to address share with you a few concerns from a planning perspective. The first concern I want to bring up is to the vision and character of the development with respect to the Santan character area that's in our general plan. The Santan character area, which was created in the year 2000, it was created to capture the unique qualities of the south portion of Gilbert, which historically, prior to development, consisted of agricultural land. The Santan character area encompasses about 10,311 acres, which is about 16 square miles, which is part of the 72 square mile planning area of the whole town of Gilbert. And it was created as a tool to recognize the importance and maintain some of the rural agricultural heritage of South Gilbert. The people of the Santan character area and town staff envisioned the area as a combination of rural and suburban neighborhoods. and that enjoy the natural environment, including wildlife and small-scale agricultural activities. Emphasis should be placed on outdoor living and the ability to live and play in a secured, safe environment. The area was programmed around low and medium density residential that should blend with the existing farming and agriculture that was there at the time, and there's still a little bit of it left, and trails and open space and commercial uses to make up the whole entire Santan character area. So given that said, staff does not believe that what is proposed by the applicant for the development as a whole complies with the vision of the Santan character area. The Santan character area section of the general plan indicates that master plan communities are generally characterized by smaller lots ranging from 6,000 to 10,000 square feet, with an average density of 2 to 3.5 dwelling units per acre. This density is intended to blend across the character area, allowing for some variation, including pockets of development that may fall above or below that average range. While the proposed development does fall within a pocket or a proposed pocket above the range previously mentioned above that density range, staff's primary concern lies in the portion of lots that deviate from the established character. Of the 1,013 single-family lots that are proposed, approximately 483 lots are under 6,000 square feet, below that range. In addition, that includes the addition of 146 multifamily low units that are in that apartment complex at the southwest corner of the development. This further amplifies the deviation from that range that I just mentioned. The high concentration of sub 6,000 square foot lots is inconsistent with the vision of the Santan character area as outlined in the general plan and raises concerns about compatibility with the intended character of the area. Staff's concerns with safety and livability stem from a key consistency with the established vision of the Santan character area. The proposed development includes 125 alley-loaded homes and townhomes that front, and you can see it on your site plan in front of you or the development plan, that front that 1 mile long collector street that bisects the development right through the middle. These homes are located approximately 10 feet from the sidewalk and approximately 22 feet from parked vehicles, conditions that do not reflect the prevailing character of the Santan character area and are not found really anywhere in the Santan character area where you have designated parallel parking spaces. We would also point out that there are approximately 3,000 vehicle trips anticipated along the proposed collector. These alley-loaded homes are facing this proposed collector and do not include backyards and leave only front yards that are not inviting or usable with the number of anticipated trips. This configuration is not found in any other south neighborhood in the Santan character area and introduces a distinctly urban, more urbanized form along the most visible corridor of the site. Staff believes that this design approach is incompatible with the Santan character area's intended scale, rhythm, and residential identity, and may undermine the long-term livability and cohesion of the area. Another concern is the applicant is requesting alternative roadway cross-sections, which staff believes is compromised with designated on-street parallel parking spaces and bike lanes on the outside next to the travel lanes, which could result in conflicts between cars and bicycles. Again, a condition that does not exist anywhere else in the Santan character area, in that exact configuration. Lastly, the elimination of the required Coronado Road, which is on that far eastern boundary, and Partridge Drive, which is that red line that's on the screen in front of you, which are required per our transportation master plan and in the general plan circulation plan. So it is So to be honest, it is very rare, it's rare to have a development that does not align with the plan collector. In those instances, the applicant and the town have worked together to address safety and traffic concerns. To date, our safety concerns have not been mitigated, and the collector has not been moved. While we're excited for the development of this property, our primary concern as we review any new project is safety and livability of the communities within our town. You may hear tonight that some of these staff's concerns are a matter of preference. And while we appreciate the design goals of the applicant, what is not a matter of preference is ensuring safety, appropriate ingress and egress, maintaining adequate emergency response. Those are not a matter of preference, they are a matter of safety and livability. So I failed to fly in all these slides, these numbers, I appreciate it, but here's all the numbers. I apologize, excuse me. Here's all the numbers of all the unit counts. So you have all these single family, 1,013, 726 multifamily, and then here's all the other acreages, which I've kind of already gone over some of these acreages. So we won't go over those again. But the next section, and there's the concerns. I apologize, I failed to show all these concerns on the screen so you guys could actually see them. But I know I talked about them and went over them. So now we will transition to the open space slide. So as far as the open space is concerned, there's about 69 acres of open space within the whole entire development. 29% of that is common open space. I know it's hard to see on the plan here where that's located. 4.2 acres is in that central park in the middle. There's about 5 acres of pocket parks if you add them all up around the whole development. And there's about 4.6 acres of trails. And you can see, I don't have it on this plan, but there's a trails master plan in your packet that would show the locations of all the trails and so forth. So that amount of open space, 29.1%, does exceed the minimum that is required by the town in our design guidelines, which is 10%. So as far as some concerns with the open space, there are several locations within the single-family parcels that lack conveniently located active open space amenities, which impacts livability. In our design guidelines, this is directly from the design guidelines, it states, design active open space in a manner which is easily accessible to local residents. Accessible means 1/6 of a mile or 880 feet by walking or biking. So I don't have the ones marked, but I can't remember the exact number. I think there's about 15 or so lots that, and we're going through the preliminary plat review right now, so we'll hone in on that more, but there's approximately that number of lots that do not meet this standard, and there is a condition of approval in your packet that addresses this situation. So the next section in the plan, in the presentation tonight, is traffic and circulation. So as I stated before, we have our town engineer here, Susanna Struble, and she is going to take over this part of the presentation and share their concerns with the traffic and the circulation and the safety element of the development.
Thank you, Keith, and thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. I am Susanna Struble, your town engineer. So I know that traffic and circulation continues to be a challenge. In fact, we've heard a couple of those issues this evening before we got here also. So I want to basically just refresh kind of how we set up our transportation network, move through how this complies or does not comply to what we are hoping to receive based off of the documents that have been adopted with our master plan, our transportation master plan, and our general plan, and then go over some of the variances that they have asked for as we move through that circulation piece of this proposal. So in looking at our adopted transportation master plan, and what you will see whenever you look at that master plan or you look at the general plan, there's often roadways that are in different colors, as you see on this map, and this is a cutout of our transportation master plan and general plan that with an expectation of classification of roadways. And functional classification of roadways, I'm having a hard time with that tonight, I apologize, is set up to allow you to move from accessible spots, such as your residential housing, and move you all the way through into a very highly mobile environment, which is considered an arterial. There's a gap between your local roadways and your arterial that is called a collector. So it will basically gather those items from your residentials, move into those collectors, moving away from accessibility and more into mobility to get you to our arterial system. So with that, our transportation master plan and our general plan are both identifying that there should be 2 collector roadways in this area. That is to be serving the area between Germain and Queen Creek and Val Vista and Greenfield. So on the west half of that, what is a section area, is where this development is being placed. That is really on the, which is where the development is. East of here, you have some soccer fields, some more residential. You also have our Greenfield Water Reclamation Facility that we share with Mesa and Queen Creek. We have our South Area Service Center where our Public Works is housed. We have a cemetery down there as well off of Queen Creek, and we also have a future plan to update our police department's substation down in that area. A collector roadway along that north-south alignment, as well as on the east-west, that would go from what is considered Partridge, which is about halfway between Queen Creek and Germain, would go over to a roadway that's a collector roadway called Coronado. We've had a lot of dialogue with the consultant at this point in time on what their intent is to supply us, not only just their development, but also provide as required our ability to have access to that collector network. To date, we have not resolved some of those issues, but I will tell you, basically what we're looking at is to try to figure out a way to continue to have the accessibility we need that will provide us with that emergency response, provide us with not only a corridor that allows for some mobility of vehicles in the overall area, which, as you know, north of here we have the Santan Core area, which is a high economic value. We have Perry High School also on the south side. And so it's a balance, and circulation is based off of how do we balance all of this to allow that we don't put too much constraints on any area in this area. So this is what you were looking at from our general plan and master plan. It is set up to help us move people from that accessible network all the way up through our mobile app network into our arterials, and the collectors are those systems that do that. So their proposed development right now is not placing the collector roadway, as it says in the general plan and master plan, along the roadway that is like midpoint between what I would say the residential zoning here, and then that is more public zoning. That is Coronado Road, and our expectation is that should be a collector roadway with an 80-foot right-of-way. As I think Keith mentioned at this point in time, the collector roadway that they are proposing brings us past the residential area known as Blandford down there from the north to the south off of Germain down south, and ends within their subdivision. It ends at that point in time. And then we also have on the south side, moving up on Coronado, that would basically just bring us in generally along the south side of where the cemetery is, and potentially touching the point of the Greenfield Water Reclamation Facility. What they have done is taken a collector system that helps to serve their neighborhood, and we have worked very diligently with them, and they have adapted some of their plans to basically provide safety along the corridors that they would prefer to serve as a collector within this area. We're requesting that works. It doesn't meet necessarily our expectations of that. They have some changes with that, with how it is serving and how it can function as a collector, and it basically does not provide us with the flexibility to have a collector along other parts of that section. So we are trying to preserve that ability with this request, of which they to date have not had ability to do that. I think, as Keith mentioned, that orange line that you see there is going to handle somewhere around 3,000 cars a day. The 125 lots that he talked about are facing on that corridor. That's in a peak hour. That means at your high ends of time frame, you have 300 cars going in front, or through that area in front of those houses where there is on-street parking. So we've worked with them as much as we can to basically address some of the safety issues that would work for what I would consider a local collector hybrid on this, but we have not to date basically been able to gain that collector roadway along the east border of their property that helps us with other areas that need to have some flexibility and mobility. Is it moving? There we go. So they're doing some of this through what we call a technical variance process. And so during the planning process and the planning process, there is an opportunity for them to deviate from our technical standards as it relates to design standards. In our ordinances, it does basically say that I, as a town engineer, is your person who basically gets to approve those technical variances. As I evaluate those technical variances, and they have asked for several of them still beyond what you see here tonight, I have to look at that from a perspective that's outlined. And I've listed those on here. There are 6 of them, and it really is it a matter of self-imposed hardship? Is a greenfield site, a site that hasn't been developed here, a hardship? A lot of times we take technical variances when we're in a situation where a lot of development has happened in the past, and we just, can't do things when it already has some development around it, keeping it from being able to accommodate the things. Number 2, does the strict application of the code requirement place an undue burden on the property? I think collector status and our transportation system is necessary to get people around and to get emergency response in and out of there. And so we're trying to basically really state, I don't think there's an undue burden here. I think there are ways to basically work through that and support a collector system that can also not only serve for this division or this subdivision or development, but also be able to serve other places that would touch that collector along Coronado. Does the strict application of the design requirement have an unreasonable adverse impact on property owners' ability to reasonably use their property? I think they can still use their property, and it would also open up the opportunity for others to use it as well. So these are the things that I will be looking at as they provide me those variances. A lot of them are really set up to say there is just no way you can get your standards in there, and it's not necessarily a preference of how they want to put their development together. So the requested technical variances right now that we have not resolved and 100% of provided approval on is the cross-section with the on-street parking. Our collector roadways are not to have parking on them. It does create some mobility issues. It also creates some additional safety issues. The design speed here, they are asking for a lower design speed, and we are working towards allowing that design speed to be approved at a 30-mile versus a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. There is an increase in the right-of-way width. That increase in the right-of-way width goes from an 80, which is standard, up to over 93 feet, which means as a private roadway, or as a public roadway, excuse me, that means we have more than our normal roadway to maintain and operate. We also have some areas as well that on the residential street that they're asking for variances on how much spacing we should be putting between those access points. The bicycle lanes are having some variance onto them too because they aren't consistently lining the collector roadway. And then there's one big one that really is probably not 100% related to the transportation, but RWCD does have an easement along there within where the Partridge Collector Road is, which is that midsection that goes east-west that goes from Val Vista over to Coronado. They have a right-of-way there now with the canal system, and they are proposing to reroute that. Our concern at this point in time with that is what are the prior rights for that? They're proposing to put it into one of the local roadways, which means if that pipe were somewhere in the future have to fail, then we have another maintenance issue that we have to take care of on our roadway system. So those are the requests that we are evaluating at this point in time and have not approved them at this time. So our concern again is really how can we save that, or can we protect our mobility, our response times, while basically keeping our roadways flexible so that we have ability to move our traffic the way that we need to move our traffic. So I'm going to turn this back to Keith at this point in time.
Can I ask you a question on one of the things she said real quick? The RWCD easement, right now, just, does that run through the property?
Yes, it runs east-west on the property, kind of midsection between Queen Creek and Germain.
So it's just there on its own in
It's
the
there,
middle?
there is a canal there right now.
Okay,
Because this is farming country, or farming area right now, and that's what it's serving basically, so,
perfect, thank you.
okay.
So moving on to the thank you, Susanna. Moving on to the phasing. So here's the phasing plan that has been provided to us. So I know it's kind of hard to see, it's a little small, but you can see how the phasing starts at the top end of the development. It goes from north all the way to the south. You see phases 1A, 1B, 1C up at the top, including you have some of the roadway improvements, the center collector, you've got some of the apartment complex up to the north and the commercial, and they're just going to build it from north all the way to south, all the way down to Queen Creek. So I just wanted to show you this phasing plan so you can get an idea of what's going to be in what phase. And each phase will include the appropriate level of streets and road connections and so forth that will be able to serve each phase and for residents and customers for the commercial to get to where they need to be. So, and emergency services, of course. So next is street cross sections. So from the creeks, I decided to just place a lot of these street cross sections in here. I know that they are in your packet. This one is the major collector that's going down through the middle of Rome Street. It's the only thoroughfare in the development that stretches throughout from bottom to top. It stretches 1 mile. And like I stated before, a large majority of the traffic in the development will be using this. And this is the residents, a lot of the residents' only access to their sub-neighborhoods is through this collector right down the center. And you can see that this collector, I know it's hard to see these things, but you can see the one on the left is probably your best view. You can see the homes in relation to it on the right side. Those are actually the townhomes, this is like a 5-plex. And you can see the sidewalks, the entrances out from the buildings to the sidewalks, the parking that's going to parallel parking that's on the street. And then this doesn't have the bike lanes, but we are requiring and have a condition of approval in your report to add the bike lanes on each side of the collector street. And this one has a raised median as well in the middle, and you can see all the trees. Here is an 88-foot major collector with the raised median, and then I have a little graphic down at the bottom that shows you where that's at. So this is also a portion of the Rome Street as well, or that major collector. And you can see there's a bike lane on one side, but not on the other. On the left-hand side, you can see some of those alley-loaded product homes. And you can see kind of that relationship between the homes and the street and the on the on-site parking as well, on the on-street parking, excuse me. Rome Street again, and this is kind of this little piece kind of at the north where you can kind of see this transition of the bike lane. It goes through this little island. Again, bike lanes on the right-hand side, no bike lanes on the left, and then you can see that relationship with those alley-loaded products there on the left-hand side. And this also has kind of a traffic calming feature where they're kind of have two islands that kind of pinch the traffic down to this point, and I think it's about, I can't remember, it's about 25, 30 feet wide, I believe, in that section, just enough to get 2 cars by, and so the applicant is providing that as a traffic calming measure. Kingbird, which is the collector on the north-hand side, south of that multifamily high piece, and this also has some homes facing Kingbird, and then you can see that there's no bike lanes on either side of the road, which we are requiring that they put in. Here is the major collector in purple there on that little key map. That's Partridge Drive. They do have the bike lanes on either side. So this is more of a standard collector street. It's closer to that. Coronado Road, that's on those you can see in the pink there, shows bike lanes on either side, and of course, no homes bordering Coronado except for backyards. Next is PAD deviations. The applicant is proposing Several PAD deviations, I have them highlighted on the screen for you in this red color. So for the regional commercial zoning district, they have a few setback deviations adjacent to the residential to the south, which is that multifamily high piece, from 75 down to 68 feet, and then they have one from 40 feet, which 75 is required on a setback there on the rear setback. And town staff is acceptable. We've agreed to these deviations due to the fact that it will allow a greater level of integration between the multifamily high development and the commercial to the north. And that's what those deviations are centered on. The multifamily high, again, there's one deviation for the landscape percentage from 45 down to 27%. For the MFM piece on the north boundary of the MFM parcel, separating the MFM and those single-family attached homes, they're requesting a deviation from 30 feet down to 18 feet and a view fence, which will help integrate the two developments and make it feel safer. Town staff has been agreeable to that deviation. Single-family attached. So in this slide's a little bit different. You have the red one, which is their proposed deviation from the standard, and then there's blue. There's something highlighted in blue. The blue is a standard that they're going above and beyond with. In this case, there is no minimum lot width or depth, and they're proposing one. And then for maximum height, they're proposing actually to go under or have shorter buildings than the max height allows. So just wanted to explain that. But this district and the SFA, they're proposing 1,600 minimum lot area, which town staff is opposed to. Single family, and the reason we're opposed to that is because, and I'll go back to it to show it to you again. And there's a few other homes sizes that don't, the minimum lot area that don't have, that they're not meeting that minimum lot area that's required per code. And town staff, we are opposed to that because we don't believe that it provides any greater benefit to the community to reduce the lot size. It doesn't provide any further integration like you would see between the multifamily and the regional commercial. They're just reducing the lot sizes. And we also believe that with a greenfield development that has plenty of land area, they should be able to meet our minimum lot sizes. So on this one as well, SFD, they have some of the same type of deviations and a setback deviation that we do support that. Single family 6, a few deviations from setbacks, and of course they're going above and beyond lot sizes in these areas, which we appreciate. And then maximum lot coverage, there's one lot size that is a very popular home they would like to construct where they need 52% lot coverage for a single family home, and we're agreeable to that. SF8, another setback deviation, we're agreeable to that deviation as well. So as far as public participation is concerned, the applicant held one neighborhood meeting in February. It was kind of an open house style type neighborhood meeting where 6 residents attended. Town staff has received 2 emails from residents that are opposed to the project and 1 phone call from another resident that was opposed and expressed a lot of concerns with the development, similar to what you're hearing from us. Town staff also received a letter from the Gilmore project developer. It's that corner, that commercial corner at the northwest corner of Germain and Val Vista. They expressed concerns that the proposed northern portion of the development, which is the regional commercial portion of the development, and the multifamily high parcels do not reflect the area's established vision. They urge a distinctive mixed-use design in the commercial with high-quality architecture and pedestrian-oriented placemaking rather than a conventional, traditional shopping center that they feel seems somewhat disconnected. Also, the last comments and concerns that we've received are from the management of the Gilbert soccer fields to the east. We have met with them many times to discuss their concerns. They have a lot of concerns with 2-story homes and homes in general being placed right up along the border or close to the border on the other side of a street in portion from their soccer fields. And they believe that the lighting will impact the homes, and that such a large development will have huge impacts on their operations, and that they'll be getting a lot of complaints because of all the homes that are backing onto these soccer fields, which have already been existing for many, many years. So at the end of my presentation here, staff, obviously, we recommend denial of the project, of the rezone and the general plan amendment. But prior to opening up for questions and so forth, we have a bunch of conditions of approval, or some conditions of approval that we are proposing to, after meeting with the applicant, that we're proposing to revise. So in order for them to be on the record, I have to review them with you. I know you have a packet in front of you that I placed on the table in front of you that shows these conditions. So condition number 1, I don't know if you've had a chance to read through all these. Do I have to read the whole condition, Elena? Or just the portions that are changing?
Just the portions that are changing
Okay.
for today.
So this one deals with dedications to Gilbert for roadways, for Val Vista and Germain and Queen Creek. After talking with the applicant, we decided to change the effective date to be prior to or when the first final plat is recorded. That is a much more reasonable date within which they can comply with dedicating right-of-way. Number 2 would be the same thing, prior to the, or by the time the first final plat is recorded. Much easier for them to accomplish. And then number 3 is not changed. Number 4, we decided to delete, amending the collector road modifications in the general plan. That's basically what the applicant is requesting, is to amend that map in the general plan. Number 4 deals with construction of off-site improvements to those roadways that I already mentioned. And this one says it's based on the phasing plan. So they're going to construct improvements based on the phasing plan that's in your packet. Number 5, no changes. Number 6, this is a condition that was added for a traffic signal shall be constructed at Rome Street and Germain Road. These improvements are required to be completed prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy or final approval of any unit or building constructed on the property. If the traffic signal is designed and constructed by the developer, Gilbert shall enter into a reimbursement agreement in a form approved by the town attorney to reimburse the developer for the design and construction costs incurred by the developer. Also, number 7 is a new condition as well. This reads, and I have to read this, developer shall design and construct at developer's expense a traffic signal modification at Key Biscayne Drive / Queen Creek Road and Coronado / Queen Creek Road. These improvements are required to be completed in connection with the development of the adjacent parcels per the approved phasing plan. Number 8 deals with a maintenance agreement. A maintenance agreement that is approved by the town attorney for, or not a maintenance, sorry, not a maintenance agreement. This is an agreement for 50% of the design and cost of construction of a traffic signal at Mercy and Rome Street. Sorry, the maintenance agreement's another condition. And this is prior to the first certificate of occupancy. And the rest of that is just, we decided is not applicable. Number 9 is unchanged. Number 10 talks about the construction of improvements to Partridge Drive, Coronado Road, and 156th Street. And we added those portions to that condition, what was condition number 9. Numbers 11, 12, and 13. Well, 13 is being changed to add the words "to the north." 14 is unchanged. 15 is unchanged. 16 is unchanged. 17, we struck. Now this one does have to deal with the maintenance development agreement for maintenance of the green bike lanes. We struck out the within 30 days because that is not feasible or possible, and we added at the end that this needs to be that the homeowners association can be assigned the management of this maintenance agreement. Number 18, there's a well site on the property next to the MFH to the west of it, and this corrects the dimensions, the minimum dimensions that are required for the well site. So it would be 185 feet versus 200 feet, and 465 feet versus 480 feet. Numbers 19 and 20 are unchanged, or 21 and 22 are unchanged. The deviations tables, we missed a line for the rear non-residential setback, and then for both of those, for the regional commercial development. So it's 20 and 10 for both of those. Misspelled a word in the depth. That's, the rest of it's unchanged, except for number 26, which was number 25, which the original condition talked about perimeter landscaping needed to be installed during first phase. We met with the applicant and decided that that would be in connection with a given parcel's development per the improved phasing plan. It wasn't fair to require them to landscape along roadway frontages in future phases where they don't have water lines and so forth, and it would have been very cost prohibitive for them, so we modified that condition as such. Before I turn it over to questions, I wanted to mention that these conditions of approval are only in effect if you as a planning commission decide to forward a favorable recommendation to the town council. If you uphold our recommendation for denial, they would not be applicable. So I just wanted to mention that. So that concludes our presentation, and we are open for any questions that you may have. The applicant is also here today, Mr. Brennan Ray, and I'm sure he has a nice presentation for you tonight. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Well, we'll start with some questions, and I can see Commissioner Simon has been chomping at the bit.
Chomping at the bit. Keith, I've got two questions. Number one, has the applicant agreed to these conditions that you just set forth?
Chair Munt, Commissioner Simon, they have agreed to some of them.
Okay.
They will be discussing with you in their presentation the ones that they do not agree with, but a lot of all the language that you see that I showed you, they agree with all these track changes. But there are some conditions that they do not agree with that they will want to go over with you as a commission.
Okay, and can you remind me what the boundaries of the Santan character area are?
Yeah. Chair Munt, Commissioner Simon, on this exhibit in front of you, you see that, did you mean just in this development or the whole town?
The entire.
Okay, so I have a slide for that. My back pocket slide, way in the back here. Here it is. Okay, so this is the Santan character area boundaries. This is the map that's in our general plan, and it's the blue down there. You can see the site, our site, or the project site is that piece of farmland that's all the way up at the north. So you can see how this extends way far south, all the way down to past, well, it looks like it goes down to Riggs Road. All the way out east, all the way to Power Road. And of course, the boundary varies on the west side quite a bit.
In lieu of making this longer, could you go back and read your definition of what the Santan character area is? I guess not in lieu of. That would be incorrect, right? Because I want to make this longer. No.
You want to make this longer?
Not because I want to. I just want to understand. My question, Keith, is you had mentioned, and I think there was, minor agrarian and some small farming and some different things like that. If you can read it to just refresh my memory, please.
Chairman, Commissioner Simon, I'd be glad to. So I'll just read a portion of this. It says, Santan character area, which was created in the year 2000 to capture the unique qualities of the south portion of Gilbert, which historically, prior to development, consisted of farming, agricultural land. My type is actually smaller than I hoped it would be. I apologize. I'm old. The South Santan character area encompasses 10,311 acres, or 16 square miles, is part of the town's 72 square mile planning area, was primarily created as a tool to recognize the importance, maintain some of the rural heritage of South Gilbert. The people of the Santan character area and town staff envision the area, and this is the meat right here, as a combination of rural and suburban neighborhoods that enjoy the natural environment, including wildlife and small-scale agriculture activities. Emphasis should be placed on outdoor living enjoyment and the ability to live and play in a secure and safe environment. Low and medium-density residential development should blend with farming, trails, open space, and commercial uses to make up the character of the Santan character area.
Thank you.
I clipped that straight out of the general plan.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have for now.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Simon. Commissioner De Gravina, please.
Yeah, Keith, thank you. That was a long presentation. The last thing you said before you turned it over to us is that if we agree with your denial, it does go in front of the town council or it doesn't?
Chair Mont, Commissioner De Gravina, if you agree with the denial, it's if you're forwarding a recommendation for denial to the council. So it would still go in front of the council, but as a recommendation from you as a commission, denial. Does that make sense? But yes, it would still go before the the council, the denial recommendation.
So they're going to get it either way?
Chair Munt, Commissioner De Gravina, they're going to get it either way, yes. They're going to, has to go before them either way.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Vice Chair, would you like to?
I do have
please.
one specific question before we hear Mr. Ray. To your conditions, which I appreciate, if we recommend no, don't apply, but within your conditions, number 17, that's the maintenance of the bike lanes. Those are within the public right-of-way, aren't they? And in fact, they actually move further and closer to the sidewalk at different points, if I'm not mistaken. You had a rendering there that showed it okay, but.
Chair Munt, Commissioner Fay, which portion, so 17 is?
Yeah, I'm talking about the.
So which bike,
Well, any of them, but
any of them,
really
they
the
should
bike
be.
lanes on the, what is it, Rome, is that that kind of middle spine?
Correct.
That's within the public right-of-way, inside of the sidewalks, and in fact, some places it moves inside of the parking and then back out to the, doesn't it move back, kind of back and forth at some points?
Chair Munt, Commissioner Fay, yes, they are in the right-of-way. As far as moving back and forth, yes, there is a portion, I don't know if I have that exhibit here, where it does move, where it kind of transitions. I'm sure the applicant probably has a diagram on that.
Well, right here, actually, you show it, it kind
You
of
wanna show
cuts
it?
through one of the calming.
Yes, it cuts through one of the calming islands, if you will.
It seems to me it's to turn over, there's a lot of things we turn over, and I would say turf onto HOAs to manage, but this is actually managing and maintaining something that is within the city's public right-of-way. This to me is more than just, and even median landscaping sometimes is problematic, and this to me is an order of magnitude more problematic to have an HOA. I don't know that this is a altogether great idea to have HOAs maintaining part of your pavement.
Okay.
And that was my only specific thought for Keith.
Very well. Would anybody else like some questions for Keith before we invite the applicant to present? Okay, I didn't know if Commissioner Simon wanted us to read some prose or something, but with that, we will bring up Mr. Ray, and we can see the applicant. Thank you, sir.
I think it has to be this one.
Good evening, Chair, members of the Commission. Brendan Ray, 2325 East Camelback Road, here on behalf of the applicant Lennar Homes. I have with me tonight, seated here on the front row, the Division President, Alan Jones. I have Todd Scorrell and Heather Chadwick with Lennar. I have a bunch of other people that, if it becomes necessary for me to call them up, I will absolutely call them up, including our planner, engineer, and traffic engineer to talk about things tonight. But we're certainly very excited to talk about Harvest Grove. I know we've been sitting here a while, and I will try to be brief, but I think with the type of this, with what this development is, a high-quality, mixed-use, highly integrated development on one of the last large parcels within the town. It certainly deserves a little bit additional and deeper discussion as we talk about it tonight. We know that this development is consistent with the goals and policies of the general plan and the Santan Character Area Plan. Harvest Grove builds upon the decades of quality master plan communities that already exist in the town, creating a place that future residents and users will be proud to call home. We certainly have worked with staff more so than any other development that I've ever worked on in my career, my 20-year career. We've met with them close to 25 times over the past 8 months. And that doesn't include the countless phone conversations and email exchanges that we've had relative to this, because we recognize the importance of this, again, as one of the last 2 parcels. And I think that we believe that some, but maybe not all, the differences that remain are really kind of what makes a community great for the future users and residents. What is not in question, and I don't think was intended or intimated in staff discussion, that we somehow want to compromise on safety. That is not up for debate. Lennar, in its 71-year history of building over 1 million homes, has not compromised on safety. They certainly have not done it in the time that I've represented them, which spanned my entire career. So let's just dispense with that safety is at the paramount of what Lennar is doing as well. And so we do request your recommendation for approval with some additional modifications that Keith indicated to some of the stipulations that we worked through. So, I think it's always important to understand contextually what the site is. And I'm going to talk, I know we've got 2 items 5 and 6 tonight, but I'm going to talk about the entire 320 acres rather than 311, and then we come back and talk about the 12 acres at the southwest portion of this development, which is the northeast corner of Val Vista and Queen Creek. So when we look at it, one of the things that kind of jumps out is it's in a unique location, and that it's transitioning from the very intense uses that have existed along the 202, with the commercial, with the medical, with everything that goes along the intensity of there. And then we start to transition to the Santan Character Area, and we are at the very north point of that Santan Character Area. And so when Lennar first took a look at this site, they felt that it presented an opportunity for them to create a development that takes into consideration kind of the unique location of it, mixed between high intense development, traffic, and the Santan Character Area. So, what is Harvest Grove? I don't want this to be lost on what it is. We are creating a neighborhood solution. There are a number of things that we are adding that do not exist today with this site, including 45 acres of commercial. We are adding over 1,000 for sale, single-family, detached and attached homes. We have almost 70 acres of open space. And then we started to get into the financial things, which aren't necessarily within the purview of the commission, but I think it's important to note the benefits that this will bring to the town, including the $44 million in impact fees and another $2.7 million in annual sales tax and tax revenue between the commercial and residential properties. And then you can see there the estimated annual spending within a 5-mile radius. So there are a lot of good things that we are adding that don't exist today, and I think that is important to consider. So when we talk about the Santan Character Area, I would agree. Keith read the statement beautifully. I won't disagree with what he said. For 26 years, the Santan Character Area has done exactly what it's intended to do, make it a special place. When you look, however, at this site, it is kind of unique because we don't have any farms around us. There is no existing agricultural uses other than the ones that are on the property today around us. This is an infill development that, as I've indicated, is a transition piece between the intensity and what the Santan character area is that we look at it. Going a little bit deeper into the Santan character area plan, there's a dozen goals and policies that we are satisfying with this development. And I'll only touch on a few of them, and you can see them there. We are providing a greenbelt buffer that includes multi-use trails. It says to promote the collector system, which is exactly what we are doing. Encourage subdivision design to optimize open space areas for community gatherings. Promote the inclusion of neighborhood commercial to provide convenient services to residents. And I think one other that I'll touch on is to promote infill development that reflects sensitivity to the area. And so we believe that we are satisfying all of these. And as we go through the proposal, I believe that you will see exactly what we are doing. Diving a little bit deeper into the Santan character area plan, there is specific development criteria. There are 6. There's a total of 7. One of them doesn't apply, but there are 6 that, if you look at it, are certainly consistent with what Keith said the intent of the plan was. But these are consistent with the goals and policies that we've identified of open space, theming, buffering, and trail systems. And as we go through tonight, you will see that we are satisfying every single one of these. In fact, as we dive a little bit deeper and look at it, these are representative examples. The first 2 deal with open space as a focal point. And as in your packet, we've got over a 4-acre park that sits in the dead center, the heart of the development. All trails lead to Rome. All trails throughout this development lead to this central 4-acre park. Additionally, we have another 5 acres of pocket parks that spread throughout the development. We are not requesting a deviation from the 1/4 mile or the 1/8 mile location from it. And so we are satisfying that. In terms of buffers along arterials, along Val Vista Drive, we have a minimum 80-foot landscape setback. So we're satisfying those 2 design criteria. When we talk about open space, I'm glad Keith highlighted it because we're providing, again, 70 acres of open space, which is almost 3 times more than what the plan calls that it be required. Move, please, thank you. Number 4, this deals with rural theming, and this is only a few of the multitude of things that we're doing to meet and exceed this requirement in terms of the planting, in terms of the design of the fencing, the walls, the open space areas, and how we do that. And this is the last one, which is quite possibly one of the most significant as you look at it, in that per the Santan character area, we're required to provide, we'll call it 7,700 linear feet of trails, which is 1.47 miles. What we have provided and what is shown in this plan is on the trails is double that, 2.76 miles. And if you take into account not only these, but sidewalks and paths and trails and everything that we do, there is a staggering 23 miles of places that people can go and move within this development. So now let's talk about Rome, which is the collector through the development. And with respect to staff, you would think from their kind of presentation in the discussion that the idea of a collector road running through a development is something that's new to the town. In fact, it's something that there are a number of well-known and desirable communities that have them, that have parking on a collector street as well. And so as we talk about it, and you've heard staff's concerns with the homes fronting onto it about livability and safety, you know, they went on to say in their staff report that this design compromises safety, streetscapes quality, and established vision of the Santan area. And as you will see, we don't believe that to be true. So where are collector roads in the town that have parking on them? Agritopia, Higley Park. Again, all of these communities have homes fronting onto them as well. Lionsgate, Collector Street, homes fronting onto them. Cooley Station, similar condition. And then obviously what is quite possibly the crown jewel of the town, Morrison Ranch, There are a number of collector streets that run through that. So as we dive deeper into the design of Rome Street, you'll see that we believe that safety and quality has not been compromised. Lennar and their consultants have been very intentional in the design of it, and we've worked with staff closely. I know that Ms. Struble talked about the technical variances. We've worked closely to ensure that none of the technical variances we ask for compromise safety when we're talking about site visibility, arcs, curved tangents, all the math terms that I forgot when I was in high school taking calculus and stuff like that. But we've been very intentional as we've done it. And going deeper into it, you can see that in a couple locations on this, we are providing traffic calming in the form of speed tables. And you can see those there. The other thing that Keith brought up in his report deals with what are referred to as chicanes, which is where there is the narrowing of the cross-section to provide for people to pay attention. And having driven through Morrison Ranch quite a few times, when you've got a landscape median in the middle, that also helps solve it down. So environmentally, the things that we're providing help to solve it. So as we go a little bit deeper, and we talk about Rome, you can see this, Keith touched on this, but livability. I do want to correct one thing that Keith said that he was mistaken on. This area, which is north, these are the townhomes. They're not 10 feet away, they're 15 feet from the property line. When you take into account the back of curb, you can see there that we're 28 feet away from the back of curb as we look at it. So there is separation that you would see in a traditional single-family community. These just happen to be townhomes. As we move on into the main part of Rome, again, talking about safety, and I won't run through it. You guys can see it. Keith talked about it. But again, I want to correct something that was said relative to these are the alley homes that are on the west side of Rome, and that they are not set back 10 feet from the property line. They're set back 15 feet, and from the curb, we have 27 feet of separation. In all of these instances, when we look at it, all of these, the townhomes and the alleys that we have, also have 20-foot driveways in the rear, which is something that you don't see on a lot of attached product, the SFA and the SFD. So, and we've talked about the bike lanes, and I've got to admit I'm a little confused because on one hand I hear the concern about the bike lane and what we're supposed to do with it, and at the same time I hear, that there is a stipulation for us to put the bike lanes in. We think the bike lanes are good. We're okay putting them in. I'm not sure how that works out, but maybe I may be missing something. And so then as we go through the rest of it, again, I won't do it. So let's talk about the parking on Rome, because I want you to know that we have tried to listen to staff and we have made changes. This was our parking plan, and I'm showing two different things. The one on the left was the parking plan that we made in our original submittal clear back in January of this year. And this happens to be the north section, but overall, in the original submittal, when we first made it, we were proposing a total of 342 parking spaces along Rome. And you can see them indicated on your picture on your left. The current plan, we have a total of 74, and you can see that we have drastically reduced that, trying to be responsive, because again, safety is not compromisable from Lennar's standpoint as well. On the south half is probably where the greatest change took place. Again, on the left, you can see the parking that we were planning originally on Rome Street, and now we've got it limited to a few areas in front of the alley loads. Again, those are overall numbers. That reduction is a reduction of 250 parking spaces. So again, we are considering the comments that we have heard as we've gone through the point. So let's get into Coronado. That is something that we have talked about, and I won't reiterate what's in staff's report, nor what Ms. Struble said or Keith said, but I think it's important to look at it, again, contextually. Context matters of what we're talking about. because one of the things that they're concerned about deals with future access east of the site, that the need for Coronado goes in, deals with access east of the site. There's concerns about its proximity to Perry High School, that if we don't put Coronado in, there might be encouragement of cut-through traffic through our development, and that the east side would help that. And then, as you heard with staff, there's a concern about two entrances on the east side, and that sometimes limits access options for people. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that. This is what Coronado is today. It provides no access to the Blandford development. The only access that Coronado Road today provides, as you see on there, the first thing that you come to as you head south is the town's well site. This vehicle is used for town employees to be able to access that well site that exists today. A little bit south of there, kind of halfway down, you see an access point. That is an emergency access only for the Blandford community. Blandford takes its access from Germain on the north and Greenfield on the east. So this collector road that is in the town's master transportation plan doesn't collect anything from what exists today. The very south, I've simply highlighted it, that's an irrigation, that's a drainage channel that goes down there. So Coronado exists today. Let's take advantage of it. In our most populated area of this community, outside the Santan character area, you can see in green the access points, right? And it makes sense, a more populated area to have additional access points. You see the access points to Rome, and then you also see the access points to Coronado as well. And look, Coronado's in today. It makes sense for us to take advantage of it up there. But as you'll see, we kind of don't agree a little bit further. But so that's on the north. So let's talk about the south. The south, as staff indicated, you've got the police substation and you've got the cemetery. And we understand that there's a future expansion that's planned for the substation and that there is a desire to connect to Coronado. We understand that at some point Mesa might expand their wastewater treatment plant, and so there might be a need for access, additional access to that, because I believe they get their access off of Greenfield. What will not happen is access to the soccer fields. And as I sat with Ms. Struble and Kyle Maris and talking about those soccer fields, they told me that there never would be access to those soccer fields, not the existing ones, nor the future expansion south of that. So there is no access planned for those soccer fields. So when we look and talk about a collector road, it's going to collect traffic from generally both sides. Sometimes it takes it from other areas. We agree with what staff said. But there is no development, even the future on the east side of the Coronado alignment is not going to be of such an intense development that merits or warrants Coronado going in. But let's talk about the south. So as you look at it, and I don't know if this was before you when we came to study session, but we put Coronado in on the south because we listened to the town and what they said, that, hey, look, the substation, they're going to want future access to be able to get over. We agree. Absolutely. So let's provide that access up to where that point is. And if there's a need to access the soccer fields as they expand, again, we've been told that access will never come to Coronado. It can come through the south part as we've proposed it and along the future alignment, which roughly is the Arrowhead Trail, if you were to look at a larger building. You can see the access points. Again, in a more populated part of our development, we've provided an additional access point to Coronado, and you can see the internal access points that occur as well. So let's talk about Perry High School and the concern about traffic. Our traffic engineer, CivTech, went out and actually got counts, traffic counts, to understand what's going on with Perry High School, how is it going to impact our development. And what is clear is that the access point that is the most heavily used is 156th Coronado. And so what you've got is 308 vehicles coming in the morning, or excuse me, 308 trips in the morning, and you have 293 leaving in the in the afternoon when school lets out. So when we look at it and talk about Coronado, and it, move please, thank you. As we look at it coming through, Coronado going in with that amount of traffic coming from Perry High School is going to become everybody's new favorite drag strip. And it's going to become a raceway as people move up and down it. And again, what we are proposing when you start to look at it and the roadway system that we're providing with Rome and what we're doing is similar to what's been done for decades in the town as we look at it. We are consistent in how we have laid this out with other developments in the town. You start to look across the street at the villages at Val Vistrum and Spectrum Estates. You can see their collector road network in gray. And you can see that they have 3 points in and out of the site. On the screen on the right, that's Power Ranch, one of the great master plan community, and you can see the collector roadway running through that. When we talk about it, and again, you've already seen these, there's already collectors with homes fronting that have existed in the town. And what we've done with the design of Rome and the cross-section is to improve on what's already been done, to make it better. That's why we are providing some parking. Having had friends that live in Morrison Ranch and driving through there, you get a vehicle, or vehicles start stacking up in front of those homes. That road feels a lot narrower as you drive through Morrison Ranch and other communities. And so we wanted to ensure that access would move as it's intended to on a collector road, which is why we've placed, again, some parking spaces throughout the development. And even if we look closer, Layton Lakes and Cooley Station, you can see the access points there because one of the comments was staff was concerned about livability and people driving to their homes and being able to get back to them. Yet what Lennar proposing is the same as other communities that have been highly successful, highly desired and sought of. So getting down to it, really the question that we've got to ask ourselves when we talk about Rome and Coronado is which is a better functioning collector road, Rome or Coronado? Obviously, you've heard from staff, and they believe that Coronado is going to improve the circulation and reduce congestion in the area. However, if we look at the data and really dive into it, we don't believe that that concern is realized. And this is a snapshot, and if I need to get Sean Messner with CivTech up here to be able to explain it, but we went and looked at it, and Rome is more efficient in reducing traffic volume on Val Vista and Germain. And that's what all of those little red dots mean. Those are changes in the level of service where the level of service has gotten worse, which means that delay times have increased. When we look at it as well, in terms of queuing storage, again, Rome is more efficient in reducing queuage storage on Val Vista and Queen Creek. And we've had a discussion before about a lot of the technicality of traffic reports and studies and stuff like that. So I wanted to boil it down into terms that aren't technical, that we can understand it, that on why Rome Street is better functioning collector road than Coronado. Drivers are all about convenience. We all know that. They always want to take kind of the shorter path to where they live, work, and shop. And as our team studied it, the traffic data shows that the highest traffic movement is north along Val Vista and west, be it along Queen Creek, Germain, or the Loop 202. And so what ends up happening is Rome becomes a better and more convenient access for people traveling to and from where they do everything. Coronado is, even though it's not that much further, when you're talking about drivers and traffic, it's a little bit farther away. Very few people are going to want to drive east just to head west. Because again, the data shows that the highest traffic movement is Val Vista and the east-west roads. And Coronado, at the end of the day, while it may be technically designed to be a collector road, it doesn't function as a collector road because it's not collecting traffic from both sides. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, it's going to become nothing more than that will become the cut-through that's going to be preferred everyone's drag strip. In Rome, as we look at it, we believe it has greater safety benefits. Again, I don't want it to be left there be any doubt that safety is not at the forefront of how we look at it. And so we've got narrower travel lanes, a curvilinear design, traffic calming, and again, a neighborhood kind of friendly physical environment. So I can go into a lot more detail if we need to. I've gone pretty deep again because I think this is the type of development with one of the last large pieces that we need to. So let's touch base on the stipulations. And I know Ashley's got a handout of these, should you choose to recommend approval, but we do request modifications in the event you recommend approval to a couple of the conditions. The first one deals with Coronado on 156th. What we would request is that Coronado on 156th be put in as is shown on the development plan. So that would be the north portion that exists today, us completing the half street, and then the south portion as well, up to what we understand is going to be the future connection point to the police substation. So that's why we've said that it be dedication occur in the location shown on the development plan. The next one is a complete deletion of Partridge Drive. As staff indicated on the transportation master plan, Partridge Drive is planned to go through. There's not a need for Partridge to go through, and so we would request that deletion in its entirety. The last one, and I apologize, I don't remember what number it is, but this one deals, and it kind of goes to what Ms. Struble was talking about relative to the technical variance, that we request this modification. And it is simple that if we do deviate from it, staff would like us to put it in a private road. And really what that does is that puts an unnecessary and undue burden on the future residents of this community. Again, collector streets are nothing new to the town, nothing new to development. And as with other communities with collector streets running through them, I can run through the list again if you'd like, but those are public streets running through them, and they allow for parking. What we have done design-wise is tried to do it. So, wrapping up, kind of where I started, Lennar has been in the business since 1954, over 70 years, built over 1 million homes. They have worked hard to become one of the country's top builders. And Harvest Grove is going to be no exception to the high-quality communities that they've built in Arizona and in the town as well. And we've certainly worked hard to balance staff comments with what we believe it takes to be a great community. You know, we're adding things to the site that hadn't been there before. I mentioned the 45 acres of commercial, the impact fees, and the annual tax revenue that occurs. And so with that, we would request your recommendation for approval with respect to the stipulations that staff passed out, further modified by what we just passed out. Now, Chair, if I may, there was one question that was asked that Commissioner Fay asked, and then I will wrap up. Commissioner Fay, the intent of the through the chair, Commissioner Fay, it's our understanding from speaking with staff that the intent of that condition relative to the bike lanes was not to maintain, per se, the physical surface and below. It really was intentioned on maintaining the green painting along it. That was the intent of it, and if I've misspoke, I'll let staff correct me, but I believe that was what we discussed, was that the HOA would be responsible for going out there and painting it green if it ever wore down. I'm done.
Let's not tell tales out of school here, sir. He might not be done. All right, well, thank you very much, Mr. Ray. Does anyone have any questions that they wanted to ask currently? Yeah, Commissioner Davis?
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Ray, we talked about, Ms. Struble talked about the 93-foot right-of-way for the collector. That's additional maintenance for the town to take on that additional pavement width. I saw on the plans you have brought in, brought in that landscaping. I'm assuming the development is responsible for all the landscape maintenance in the right-of-way. Can you confirm that?
Yeah, through the chair, Commissioner Davis, I know in other communities where I work, I see stipulations to that effect that the HOA is responsible for maintaining the landscape areas within the public right-of-way. And I will look to the town. I believe that the way that is handled is through a dedication that occurs on the plat. I see Ashley shaking her head that there will be a condition on the plat or dedication or some annotation that will say that the HOA is responsible, or POA is responsible for maintaining the landscaping within the public rights of way. So that would be internally, externally along Val Vista and Main and Queen Creek as well.
I could see where that's a concern as far as additional pavement maintenance is expensive for the town to take that on. I guess I'd be curious what that offset is to areas that they won't have to maintain where the pavement widths get narrower, but.
Yeah, and through the chair, Commissioner Davis, as I think I've had lots of discussions, including one a few hours ago with Ashley, that particular issue of the maintenance of it and our belief that it shouldn't be a private track, but it should be a public street, we're going to continue to work with staff to try to see if we can understand that. I know we're looking at quantifying what the additional pavement is and what that would be above and beyond the regular requirements. So that is something that I will say, I don't know that I've got a solution yet. I don't know that staff's got a solution yet, but that is something that we are continuing to work on and discuss, among other things.
Thank you.
Commissioner Simon, please.
Yeah, Mr. Ray, is it my understanding that you are in agreement with all of the stipulations presented by staff in addition to the 3 that you presented?
Yeah, through the chair, Commissioner Simon, we are in agreement with the stipulation staff presented, provided those modifications take place to the 3 steps.
Understood. Thank you.
Vice Chair.
So, again, I don't mean to home too much. Really, we've got to talk about the bigger project is the bigger issue, but I am looking at one of the stipulations. It's number 15, which is the one you didn't have the number for. On your, all cross sections are required to meet town standards. Any proposed deviations must be, in blue or air quotes, placed in a private road track and approved in accordance with blah, 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 blah. The condition, I mean, that sounds to me like essentially that if you're gonna vary the standard cross section, you're gonna own it. And it sounds to me like that the city engineer or the town engineer is not gonna approve the variance regardless of what we do, if you're not owning it. But on the other hand, I'm also loath to have private roads running through public right-of-way or publicly open this way, to have private road tracks at the hands of the HOA that are not within a gated community seems like I don't know, it seems like there's a lot to be done on this one. 17, I'm not even altogether comfortable with the idea of the HOA painting in public right-of-way, but you're right, it is much better. 17 is much better now that you explain it. It makes a lot more sense, and it probably is within the palatable, or at least hold my nose range. But 15 is actually worse now that I'm kind of grappling with it.
Yeah, and through the chair, Vice Chair Fay, and I think I'm not going to misrepresent conversations that I've had with Ms. Struble and others in the engineering team. With respect to these technical variances, it's highly unusual. Again, it speaks to the uniqueness of this development that at this point of the process that we would talk about technical variances. Those are typically happen as you're going through the platting process. But again, recognizing everything that we've talked about tonight, staff wanted us to kind of start that process, which we have done, and we've worked with them. That's why, as I said, there are still some things that we're working on from a technical standpoint that I don't know would per se fall within the purview of what we're talking about tonight. It does to the extent of the stipulation in question, but that process has yet to conclude. I know that we've got another submittal in we're waiting to get some comments on, but I know as we've talked about those and talked about really what I call the safety aspect of Rome, right? The site visibility triangles, arcs, curves, radius, all of the things that I know that you are familiar with. We don't believe, and I'll look to my engineer, I don't believe any of the variances that we're requesting go to the safety issue. there still is the overall question about the cross-section. But as far as from a safety standpoint, I don't believe that there's any outstanding. And if I'm wrong,
Well, I don't think any of our, regardless of what we put in a stipulation, I don't think any of our authority intrudes on the city engineers. I think this is
Sure.
her purview, regardless of whether we put it in a stipulation or not. And I do agree with the staff idea of, yeah, stipulations can go kind of anywhere, but push them way up front if they're big and fundamental to the structure of the project. Yeah, push them where they belong most of the time, but sometimes if they're so big, they change everything and the decisions we would make, push them up front sometimes, and I'm okay with that part.
yeah, and through the chair, vice chair, I think that's why as you look at that stipulation that you're talking about and our proposed change to it, again, what we are proposing from a cross-section standpoint, yes, it doesn't meet the town standards. I could go through and show you a comparison between the town like Keith did. What we believe that it does, it improves on those standards for this type of a setting and location because of all the things that we are providing. Learning from some of the challenges that have occurred in other communities where they may have been designed to the town's cross-section, and yet you have some of those conflicts. And I think if we look at it, the real kind of crux of the deviation from the town standard really focuses on the on-street, which is why I took the time to say we've really reduced it and we've tried to be responsive, yet we still see a need for it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other questions? Commissioner DeGravina?
Mr. Ray, I'm still kind of wrestling with not completing Coronado Street. I'm in that area quite a bit, and I went by it since I knew it was coming up today, this weekend. And Coronado to the north, completed to that barrier and that big pile of dirt. Is it going to go any further than that?
Through the chair, Commissioner DeGravina, let me go back to, if this will move faster. I got to point it at it, I guess. This is probably the best one. So under our proposal, again, because there's no need for the soccer fields to access Coronado, under our proposal, it would, Coronado on the north side would terminate where it does today.
Okay.
And that, as I mentioned, we're taking advantage of it. It's there, why not? And we will complete the
other
west half of that.
And on the south side, it says 156th Street. If it was to go all the way through, it's going to be named Coronado from Germain down to Green Creek.
Through the chair, Commissioner DeGravina, I defer to the town on what they name their streets, but I think it's 156 South that then converts to Coronado, but it's in the same line.
And you also mentioned that you discuss that street going through or the soccer fields having access at some point in time. Now, the soccer field to the north is being utilized. The soccer field to the south isn't developed yet. At some point in time, that could possibly change. And then we would want access all the way through. And you also said that with that street being completed, that it doesn't alleviate some of the traffic concerns. I'm, like I said, on those streets constantly, and I can't imagine how having that street completed with 1,739 new units, it wouldn't make it a little easier traffic-wise in that whole area.
Yeah, through the chair, Commissioner DeGravina, if I can, let me kind of walk through what I was kind of explaining. So the soccer fields today, they're right there. You can see that they've got parking there, and then what ends up happening is there's usually overflow parking. I've been out here for fields and stuff like that. So in the event that these south soccer fields develop, and we understand that there are plans, expansion plans for it to develop to the south, yes, I'll tell you, I don't know from a driving standpoint if they're going to modify it because I think only town vehicles can access through here. But what it does with the expansion and what we are proposing down here of putting Coronado into here, and then again, you see this arrowhead alignment off the side, that's our understanding as to where that expansion is going to connect. So with this road here, and this road here. It would potentially provide access to the future soccer expansion here. But again, unless I'm mistaken what I've heard from staff, there's an existing fence that exists up here today, and I think that fence is intended to continue, so there won't be direct access from Coronado to those fields.
Yeah, fences can't be removed. I mean, if there was some need to complete
Oh,
that.
well, through the chair, Commissioner De Gravina, I specifically raised that question to town staff, and they said, no, there's no plans.
Current plans. Current plans.
But I did raise that question.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Very well. Okay. Commissioner Simon?
Just really quick, Mr. Ray, you do have access points off of 156 and Coronado currently, correct?
Currently in the
plan.
proposed plan? Yeah, under the proposed plan, we've got, again, if you look at it, you know, kind of the heart of the development, the single family, there is not access to it, but this is on the south side. You can see underneath the 111, there's a little green arrow east-west. We are providing a connection point there. And then on the north side, there's two access points, one from the multifamily medium to Coronado, and then one from the townhomes and those 45-foot wide lots as well. There's an access for people to go there, which, again, kind of makes sense. Those are the more populated areas. Let's provide them an additional access point, which is what we've done.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Very good. Without any more questions then, did anyone have questions they wanted to raise back to the staff at all?
Well, actually, I've got, it's kind of, sorry, Brendan, it's kind of between the two of staff, and could you go back to that diagram, the one that I talked to Dawn about this, the one that shows the travel impacts or the level of service changes, it's got the red or the balls on it, either one of them, the good or the bad one, out there. I think there seems to be an underlying assumption that's different from staff and the developer. I think the assumption is if Coronado goes in, Rome doesn't go in. And I think there seems to be kind of a staff perception that we wanted, that we need to have Coronado, but we're keeping Rome. Is that a fair kind of difference in the perception right now?
Through the chair, vice chair, I'll certainly let staff provide a response if I do an inadequate job. I don't think it's a question of either or. I don't think it's a question of Coronado or Rome, because Rome Street will go in. I think the question is which is the more efficient collector. And for purposes of the study, we presume that Coronado was a collector road and that it was in. And that's how we were able to come up with these calculations.
Well, for this study, according to Dawn, you were able, when you did it with Coronado there, she took Rome out.
From being a collector. Yeah. So Rome as a physical street still exists. It's just not a collector street.
Okay.
It would be a local.
That just narrower, or what does that mean?
Through the chair, vice chair, I don't know that necessarily means that it would be narrower in terms of a cross section, because there is a look and a feel that we are trying to get as we design it. While the pavement in the cross section is what it is as we've designed it with the 14-foot center median landscaping and all of that stuff, our intent would not be to reduce that feel, because we want it to have neighborhood-friendly feel as you go through it.
Okay, that's not consistent with my conversation with her.
So, Chair, Vice Chair, let me ask Sean Messner to come up. Sean is with CivTech, and he can better explain to alleviate the confusion relative to this particular exhibit.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair. Sean Messner with CivTech. Mr. Fay, I believe when you talked with Don, you, specifically with this diagram, what we looked at was if Rome is in and Coronado is not there. So your statement originally was correct about or, not having both. What we were showing is when Coronado is in, there's worse level of service at the study intersections if Rome is in.
Okay, so we're back to my original question that I brought, that got me to Dawn in the first place. If Rome is still there and you complete Coronado, it causes lower levels of service all over the place. That just is very not intuitive. I don't see how that could occur.
That's correct. If you have another street, right, you're going to have a better distribution. What our analysis was just one or the other. It wasn't with both.
So it was back to one or the other.
That's correct.
That was for analysis purposes.
Right. And it was for that, for
It's not part of the plan, though, Brendan, that's the key piece, but for analysis purposes, it was done.
Right.
Yeah, through the chair, Commissioner Fay, that is correct.
Okay.
This is why I have guys like that. I'm a traffic engineer because I drive a car, but I don't do it all the time.
I had an engineering class where the professor began by walking in and saying, we make simplifying assumptions, and he walked in and said, okay, let's assume the ocean is a 1 foot cube of fresh water. And then he proceeded to start, I'm like, begins with an assumption like that, but you have to make assumptions for simplicity or analysis. The assumptions that were made for calculation purposes and the plans you're talking about are not the same.
Correct.
And that caused the confusion in my mind. I'm sorry to go off in that rabbit hole.
No, I actually appreciate that too, because as a fellow engineer, the logic of the idea that you add another collector and it miraculously creates problems is fantastical for me too. All right. Anything else that we would like? We can always beckon Mr. Ray back up. I know that he would be happy to, but for now, we can allow him a slight reprieve. And then from public comment, I know that Ms. Pierce had spoke earlier, which was actually related, I think, to this item, but is there anyone else here? I know a number of people have come in that wish to speak either in favor or against this item.
Chair, can I ask a question on that? Since she did speak during the communication from citizens, does she need to come back up so she's on record for this case?
We can allow, I mean, I
There's
would,
nothing that prevents her.
Okay, yeah, because now what she's saying, I didn't know what the hell she was talking about when she first came up, and now that we actually have the case up, what she, I think I kind of want her to come back up and just refresh our memories as to her concerns.
Well put, sir.
which of course I was gonna ask anyway, but that's okay. And then in the back, if you wanted to speak, if you could just fill out a comment card, which are these yellow cards right over there at that table, and then just bring it up over here to the staff, or they can come and get it, and then we'll get you up in a minute. So Ms. Pierce, would you be so kind as to come up and reiterate or else augment what you said and do 3 minutes again, just so that we know that it's on this case?
To read what I wrote again,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and state your name again so that we know it's still you.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Karen Pierce. I live in a house right, my backyard faces Val Vista. So I'm in between Partridge and, well, I'm south of Partridge. I have 3 daughters. My 2 older daughters attend Perry High School. Sometimes my middle daughter rides her bike to school. And they often, they often see high schoolers on the cross-country team running along Val Vista and Queen Creek Road in the morning. And they also brought up concerns about safety, about more people being in that area than should be, would compromise the safety of the cross-country team runners. I don't think the zoning should be changed from how it is now. I believe it would be more dangerous for students to have more traffic right next to their school with the proposed commercial development and changing the single-family plan to more multifamily. I think it's irresponsible to think about increasing the number of people and the traffic that would result from these pieces of land being rezoned to allow a greater number of people to occupy this space across the street from a huge high school. There are a lot of kids that go to Perry High School, 2,300. If you live within like a 1 mile radius of Perry High, you're not allowed to be bused there, so you have to walk or ride a bike or be driven. So there are a lot of kids that ride their bike and walk to school along the busy streets. They're busy right now, so it's scary to think about them getting even busier. So for the safety of the students, I ask that the zoning not be changed from how it is now. I also think it makes sense to match how big the lot sizes are on the west side of Val Vista Road and keep the lot sizes the same on both sides of Val Vista. I'm absolutely against the rezoning of these two parcels of land. I don't want there to be double the amount of people across the street compared to how many people I have in my neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have Clarice Mason is opposed to the item and wishes to speak. Comments are problems with traffic and congestion and the amount of people. So please come up and then just state your name and, you know, your place of residence, and then 3 minutes, please.
I just wanted to speak quickly. Clarice Macon. I am at Villages of Val Vista. So I access Val Vista from the Kingbird entry point on the map. So my concern, I don't know, all of this stuff is way too technical for me, but I didn't see a light or how that particular entrance or exit would be handled. I'm not really understanding as a resident, does the collector item of Rome collect all the people away from Val Vista? Because 1,700 units brings more people, more congestion to Val Vista and us exit. Yes, we have a collector road, but for me, it's easier to access Val Vista versus the collector road inside of my neighborhood. So that brings more people to Val Vista than there is now. But I think we're only talking about Perry High School. You also have Campo Verde High School on Germain as well, and Val Vista. So that's an additional amount of students in addition to Perry that you have to worry about in the neighborhood that nobody's really talking about. I think it's more so people are mentioning collector roads, but you have way more people in this area with these two high schools that should be a concern. Also, as a resident, I don't know if this is the place for it. You have 1,700 additional units coming to the area. Does that affect the student-teacher per capita? Is there more students that have to enter these high schools versus now? Are the schools growing? Are we getting new elementary schools, new high schools in the area? Because 1,700 homes, people have kids, you got to do the math. 1,700 homes, let's estimate 3 people per home, 5 people per home. That's a lot more kids, a lot more people in that area. And you guys are building was it the Gilmore or Biltmore? I'm not sure what it's called, on the other end of the corner where you're bringing more apartments and a Safeway and restaurants. So you're bringing more people to that area with that new development on the opposite end of the corner. So I think I would ask that you guys take a better look at how you handle the traffic and the amount of people that you are bringing to that area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so with that then, we can take it back up here, and then are there things that anyone would like to discuss with staff and/or the developer at all prior to closing the public comment and bringing it back to the dais? Commissioner Davis?
I just want to confirm, and I believe it is part of the process, school districts are notified. I'm asking staff, correct, that they would weigh in on how these impact. I know this has been vacant property. It's been anticipated it would be developed as something. I just wanted to verify, get some acknowledgement that the schools have weighed in.
Chairman and Commission member, that is correct. We do notify the schools.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? All right, well then I will close the public comment portion and bring it to the dais for discussion or motions. Anybody want to kick off some discussion as it relates to this item? Well, I will throw out a few conversational pieces just as a good radio person, but I look at traffic issues, of course, are a major thorn for anyone that lives here. You know, one point of clarification that I just wanted to at least give a consolation prize to the developer is that even without doing any forms of changing of the plans, there would still be thousands of people that they are within their right to develop the single-family homes that would go here. And so the question of the traffic, it is going to be an issue, and that then is going to compound itself down into departmentally different areas to where transportation engineering, the roadways, the lighting, and things of that are not within the purview of what we would do here on the planning commission. So I just wanted to point that out, that it, devoid of this development, there is still, within the rights, with no variances at all, thousands of people that could come and live here. So regardless of the presentation and everything that we have, there would be additional people. And now I want to just also call out maybe a second consolation prize that lost in a lot of all these documents as it relates to the stipulations, but I do want to say that we do a lot of projects here in the town that are vilified for downzoning. Downzoning being going into multifamily, trading in the commercial, and I just want to at least put a feather into the cap that there are multiple commercial pieces being put here that is a dire need, along with, you know, all of the other impact fees and other things that come with development, for the infrastructure that exists that the town needs to administer current and future citizens. And so, because we put beatings upon developers for taking commercial away, I wanted to at least recognize that when you add some, that should be something to be considered, in my opinion. But that's, Commissioner Simon?
I don't mean to cut you off. I
No,
let you go.
I was trying to just fill the airwaves, honestly.
I have a couple things I'd like to throw out. First and foremost, I'll say I don't know that I have an issue with this development. With regards to Coronado, you can take Coronado, and if you look at, in essence, 156 Coronado, whatever you want to call it, all the way up to the 60, it doesn't go through on any development that I'm aware of. There's no straight north-south connector outside of the main thoroughfares we have. Greenfield, Val Vista, Higley, Lindsay, to an extent. Wrecker stops at Baseline. So I understand what you're saying. I understand where we're going with this whole collector thing. I think that the terminology collector, in my mind, actually gets lost. I'm not a traffic engineer, so I like Mr. Ray, drive my car, and that's the most traffic engineering I have in my quiver. So, but with regards to the development, a couple of things that I do really like on this. Number one, Commissioner, Chairman, you had mentioned this, that we are actually upzoning what I'll consider upzoning to some commercial in this. I'd like to see some regional commercial in those two corners, just because I think that there's some opportunity to make some statement pieces there. I do like that we have what I would consider a newer project or a product coming into town, which is going to be those townhomes for sale. We need entry level in this community. We have apartments that cost way too much to rent. We have houses, and if we keep 2 to 3.5 houses per acre, we're looking at $750,000 to $1 million houses going in, and we need entry-level product. So as much as, yes, traffic is going to be an issue no matter what goes into this development, we have very little space left, and I think that this is a unique way of using that space and making buffer between the commercial that's on the north side of that with the development to the south. I asked the question earlier with regards to the character area and the boundaries, literally because looking at the remainder of it, other than County Islands and some of the other acreage parcels that were already there. Any development that's gone in this area in the last 15 to 20 years has been smaller lot sizes, and houses packed in. So I don't know that we can really use something that was written 20 years ago and stand fast on it with regards to whatever else has been built in there. I do understand and commiserate with those that live close to schools. I have 3 schools that surround me. I can't get out of the neighborhood without driving past one. And there are times during the day, because we do not have busing within a mile of any one of those 3 schools, that it will take me 20 minutes to get from my house to a light, which is less than half a mile away. So I do commiserate with you. I don't know that that's going to be solved with anything that we have to say this evening. I like the bike lanes the way that they are. I think that when we saw this previously, there were bike lanes on both sides of Rome, and staff had mentioned they didn't like the bike lanes on the inside, or maybe it was outside. We had sidewalk parking and then bike lane. Staff didn't like that, so I think that was removed, if I remember correctly. So, I think that collector, the way Rome is positioned, I think with the tables, I think with the reduced in width in a couple of spots, I think that will slow things down. And I think with the access points that are already on Coronado and 156, you're going to get traffic that pushes out that direction anyways, and I don't think you're going to see as much congestion run through the middle of that as maybe it seems. So, but again, not a traffic engineer. I'm just going based on the crystal ball I stare at every night. So that's all I've got.
Thanks very much, Commissioner Simon. Commissioner Davis?
Thank you, Chair. I think I disagree on some of those. On the major point regarding the general plan, I guess I'm bringing this back up to that level since that's our first request in front of us. And, with the Santan character area and an update in 2000, I feel like that's not that old. And a property this size, I feel like was considered when that was, when that map was looked at to determine that area, that boundary could have been adjusted. When you have 300 or so acres, I think it was intentional to include it in that area. I don't agree that the point was that there's existing farms in the area. I think it was more of a nod to what used to be there. So it's more of a nod to the history of the area to try to keep those larger lots. And then I don't agree that it's infill development with a property this size. I think, I'm supportive of bringing in some multifamily. I agree we need more of the smaller lot development in Gilbert. But I do think this was looked at and considered by the neighborhood, and I think we should recognize that it wasn't that long ago, and recognize that maybe some of the areas further south in this development could be brought to closer conformance with that 2.3. So as far as the plan itself goes, I've kind of generally been less concerned with the houses facing the street. I am concerned that the towns would be taking on additional pavement width to maintain that. I think that that's a cost concern long-term. That's really expensive. 3,000 cars a day is a lot. So I guess some of those concerns that Keith raised about safety, it does make me question it a little more than what I had previously thought, hearing those numbers. But I do appreciate that the applicant has brought in some mitigation for that and brought in some landscaping. I do think that will help. And then I would hope that there'd be some sort of fencing. As I recall, there was some sort of fencing in front of those units, like low walls that protected kids that might be playing in that front yard area. So I guess that's where I stand on, my biggest hang up is the general plan, so.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner DeGravina?
Yeah, I was looking over my notes here, and I just saw this, and this is for Mr. Ray. You said you reduced parking from 342 on the street, I think it was to 74, and that created a better safety issue. How does that make a better safety issue when you have less parking and it starts to fill up and they have to drive around and drive around and drive around? Because a lot of these developments parking is always an issue. So you're going from 342 existing, that were existing, and you're reducing that to 74. That seems like quite a reduction.
I was just going to say, Commissioner, we had closed the public comment, so it's just for us to discuss
Oh,
now.
we can't go back to Mr.?
No. I mean, I guess we possibly could, but technically, well, I guess I don't know. Elena, am I allowed to have him ask a question back to the?
You are able to invite him back for very specific questions.
Okay. Mr. Ray, if you were so kind to entertain that, I apologize.
Commissioner DeGravina, I want to make sure I understand your question. I was listening to it, but I want to make sure I understand your question. And so I think what your comment was that the reduction in parking, well, I don't want to.
I'll repeat it.
Thank you.
You said you went from 342, I think it was, to 74, and it made it safer. I'm just wrestling with how a reduction in parking, especially with that many units being in play and a number of cars most likely increasing, sometimes these parking spots get filled, and to find when you're driving around and driving around and driving around, and all these developments are sort of underparked as time goes on. So it's just more of a, again, one of those curiosity things. It's how does it increase the safety factor there?
Yeah, so through the chair, Commissioner DeGravina, as we've worked through things with staff, one of the things that we've heard is the concern initially was the amount of parallel parking spaces that we were providing on the street. Because the staff indicated they believed that having those parallel parking spaces was in conflict with making Rome safe. And so in response to the comment that we'd heard from staff, we reduced the number of parking spaces. That's what's on the screen before you, is that overall reduction based on their concern. And so when you look at it and you look at those particular units, you can see as well, and if I need to get deeper into the parking plan, I can, but you can see kind of ghosted out where we do have parking within the local street system. That's those light blue spaces, and then you see on further down kind of some red. So there still is parking within the local streets. Because of the nature of these and that they front, we did want to provide some opportunities for guests or, you know, maybe Amazon drivers to be able to park in front. But then again, as I said and indicated, and if I need to go to it, I can. All of these particular units here that are in question, the townhomes and the alley loads, they do all have 20-foot driveways so that guests are able to park on the 20-foot driveways as well and still access the unit. So we are providing a lot of parking as we look at it. In fact, as you look at it, when we just get right down to it in terms of required parking for this entire community versus proposed parking, we have a total, what is required is 2,689 parking spaces. And that's per the town's code for all the single-family attached and detached homes. And what we are providing overall is 4,416 spaces. So we've got plenty of parking throughout the entire community. Part of it, as we looked at it with Rome, again, was because of the desire to improve upon what we had seen in other communities that have a collector street system that don't provide for parallel parking. We thought it made sense in those streets that have the parallel, that don't have the parallel parking. They all have homes that front on the street, and so people will pull right up, stop in the collector street, get out of their car, and access the homes, whether they are kids, residents, visitors. We were trying to improve upon that. And again, I can go through all the examples if you want, but that's why we are providing some spaces. But to address the concern that staff raised with us, we reduced the number of parallel parking on the collector street. But overall, throughout the entire development, Even if you take out the kind of on-street parking, we're 2,000 cars. We have 2,000 extra spaces than is required for this development.
Thank you. That's a great explanation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for re-entering the realm, Mr. Ray. Okay. Continue discussion, Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you for everything. I support the project. I mean, I think, I like the fact that it's providing a good amount of residential options to live in this community. I like that you guys are introducing a regional commercial and I forget the other zone, the other commercial down on the south side. I think the whole site is thoughtfully laid out. There's a ton of green space here for the residents to use. And I understand that staff is recommending denial, but with the revised stipulations or conditions, I mean, both the applicant and staff are just pretty much in the middle, just needing to meet there. And with the applicant is only requesting, modifications to only 3 of the conditions, and I kind of have an agreement with those, with that request. I think it's a good project, and I would support recommending approval to council for both the GP and Z on this one.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else have any other comments or discussion items they'd like to go over? Okay.
Yeah, I'm still not, I'm not that, in fact, most of it I'm not opposed to. I think it, when this left last time after a study session, I said there's a lot of loose pieces. I feel like all of those loose pieces are still loose. And this is what I'd hoped we wouldn't be dealing with, although the stipulations do kind of tighten all of them, most of them. And I'm okay with it, but I'm still kind of tied up about the stipulation modifications from Mr. Ray's side. The first one, which is number 2, essentially is that they will dedicate but not dedicate the part of Coronado. And I think the city is asking for the dedication of the Coronado right-of-way, if I read this correctly. And the applicant is saying, we'll dedicate the part that we're going to use and we're not going to dedicate the part that's in the middle altogether, is how I read that. And I think that the purpose of number 2 is a concession that the city's going to come in and build the road at some point if it needs it. And if we take the stipulation modification of the applicant, then the city can't do that. And it kind of defeats number 2 altogether. I mean, they're going to have to dedicate the north and the south quarter regardless, because it's for access, and frankly, it's at least partially already there. So I'm not sure that that's okay. Number 3 is the dedication of Partridge Drive right-of-way. I'm not sure how much of it could be dedicated given the current plan. I think the Partridge Drive right-of-way partly goes through houses, doesn't it? So I'm not sure that number 3, without the stipulation modification, is possible. Well, actually, the stipulation modification is just to get rid of it. So that's, I'm not sure that stipulation number 3 is possible. It looks like it goes through some houses. So, but also the one that kind of I get hung up on the most is number 15, and it's the final one, about the deviations must be in a private road track or not. I think the obvious answer is, because I think this ties to one of the variances that the city engineer has to agree to. I mean, I think that regardless of whether we approve this or not, there's an agreement that has to be reached between the parties that I'm not really sure how to approach item 15.
And Vice Chair, the way when I look at number 15 and I think about the striking of placed in a private road track, I don't quite see what that does if if you don't have an agreement on it between the engineering, it doesn't seem to me like you could do anything with or without that statement in there. Like, I don't see what taking the private part out would allow it to happen.
It presumably, I mean, Lennar's not gonna own this road forever, it's gonna turf it onto the HOA, is what I assume, and it's a private road open to the public. It's public right-of-way, but owned by the HOA. Essentially HOA land with a right-of-way easement on it. Yeah, I'm still not quite, I mean, I can get there legally, I just can't get there practically. I'm kind of delving into the stipulations at this point, and I find number two's stipulation modification problematic. I'm not as necessarily concerned about number 3, but man, I'd like some more. If I'm expected to vote on it, I think there's more detail needed. I don't see this one penciling out yet. And I don't see the number 15 penciling out right now. I don't know how to get there. Sorry, the presentations don't quite connect the dots yet for me.
No, thank you. I know. Well, then, if anyone has anything that may be a motion one way or the other, do we need clarification on motioning as it relates to the multiple packets of stipulations that exist? I mean, I guess my question in this would be.
A motion, I think, is going to have to, we could have a motion to approve or deny. We could do a motion to approve with, well, and it doesn't have to be, all right, it could, this is gonna get ugly, but this could be an à la carte type situation. And I know some of the parties are probably cringing like, oh no, don't go off the rails here. But, I mean, I think it's up to us.
Mr. Chair, if I may offer a suggestion, if the commission goes by way of approval, I would start off approval with the conditions as read by Keith, and then make any exceptions from there, because what Keith read into was also grammatically and technically correct. So I'd want to establish that as the baseline, and then either move to further amended, either if any exceptions to that as presented by Mr. Ray.
Okay.
I guess my 2 cents on that is if we're going to get into the stipulations, the staff and applicant have already agreed to all 26 of these stipulations except for 3. Let's not wedge ourselves in between this. I mean, we're making this way too complicated now.
Well, if we get into it, I think we are. So I'm with you. Chairman, I would like to make a motion I'm going to go maybe controversial here, to approve item, sorry, I lost track now, it's been so long. Approve item number 5 with the stipulations that were read by staff, 1 through 26, with the modifications that staff read, and none of the stipulation modifications that the applicant is proposing.
Vice Chair Fay, not to complicate things, but we actually need to do a motion for the general plan separate from the zoning. So the general plan, GP 2503, would not have any conditions associated with it. And then your second motion after there's a vote on that would be 2503, and that would contain the conditions.
Son of a bitch. Oh.
That's okay, that's all been stricken from the record.
Sorry, my microphone's on. Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to approve item GP 2503 as written, and then wait a minute and make a motion, okay. So I would like to make a motion to approve item GP 2503, request for a minor general plan amendment for the rezone, as written.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Anderson. Any discussion? Not seeing any, please cast your vote. Motion carries 5-1. Okay,
Okay, now I would make I make a motion to approve item Z as in Zulu 25, TAC 03, the request for the actual rezone, now with the stipulations that were negotiated and read by staff into the record, 1 through 26, 1 through 26, and not with the applicant's modifications.
okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
No.
I guess for me, I don't think item 3 is required. I'm kind of in agreement with the staff on that one. I don't think Partridge Drive needs to connect all the way to Coronado. You know, it's coming off of Bella Vista and connecting to whatever that middle road collector is. So for me, that's the holdup for me on this one.
Is there, and I guess this goes to the question of, from Elena, if we were to start with the baseline and then we wanted, like, would that be another motion, or do we do it within this motion is the question?
You could establish the baseline, and then when that, it's been a little while since I've done that. So establish the baseline, move that, second that, approve that, move to further amend the amendment or the conditions with whatever you agree to, the stipulations, modifications. And then we would move to approve GP 03 with the amended conditions as discussed.
Right, but I want to point out, I did what I did deliberately.
Yeah.
I think what needs to probably happen is my motion probably dies for lack of a second, and a subsequent motion would have to be made that more fits what people are thinking.
Yeah, I think that's the proper way of doing it.
Yeah, well, and I think that the legal issue of how we go about motioning it, I think, is what Elena is talking about. But I understand, yeah, okay.
I think if I remember right from experience, if there's not a second, the chair has the right to call for a new motion because the first one just dies.
All right, so is there a second? No, there's not? Dead. Sorry, Vice Chair. All right, do we have any other motions?
I'll go ahead and make the motion. Recommended town council approval of Z 2503 with the conditions read by staff as during their presentation, with the 3 additional stipulation modifications to 2, 3, and 15 as presented by the applicant.
Okay, we now have a motion. And do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Commissioner Simon. Any discussion now as it relates to these stipulations? Okay, please cast your vote. Motion carries 4-2. Okay. Now, moving on to item number 6.
Chair, can I make a recommendation that we take a little break? We've been going for like almost 2 hours now, and I'm sure some people need to use the restroom, like me.
Yes, let's take a recess for 5 minutes then. That's
Thank you.
fine. Okay, I just wanted to, if everyone has a moment, please start making your way back so we can get the meeting back online. All right. Thank you for everyone who's taken the time to stay here late into the evening, ever so late. And moving us directly on to item number 6, GP 2502 Harvest Grove Neighborhood Commercial and Z 2508 Harvest Grove Neighborhood Commercial. And we'll bring up the great Keith Newman.
Chairman, members of the commission, this next project, this one won't take as long, I promise, much simpler, is for Harvest Grove Neighborhood Commercial. Oh, I need my clicker. I think I left it. It's over here. Okay, so this next project is that commercial piece that's cut out of the larger Harvest Grove project. This is about 12.05 acres, gross acreage, located at that northeast corner of Val Vista and Queen Creek Drive, Queen Creek Road, excuse me. And you can see that on the screen in front of you. The request before you is for a proposed general plan amendment from residential 2 to 3.5 dwelling units per acre to neighborhood commercial. And then the proposed rezoning from single family 35 to neighborhood commercial. Here is the general plan exhibit that shows that. I know it's black and white. I didn't have a color one for this one. So I've already explained what the general plan designation is. To neighborhood commercial from residential 2 to 3.5. So pretty simple for the site. The next one is the zoning exhibit, zoning it to neighborhood commercial. There is no development plan for this because the applicant first of all, they don't have tenants. They do not know who those tenants will be, and they didn't feel comfortable coming up with a conceptual design in order to create a development plan and zone it PAD. They don't know what the needs are for the users and setbacks and all those things. So they chose to zone it to a neighborhood commercial with a conventional zone change. So this will be straight neighborhood commercial zoning, no PAD, no deviations, just all standards will be per the land development code. And we do not know as far as the timing as for when a development will occur on this piece of land. But when it does, they will be required to come to us for a design review application, wherein we will review all the site design and building designs and street frontage designs and so forth. As far as public participation is concerned, this was part of that neighborhood meeting that took place in February of 2025. Like I stated, 6 surrounding residents. These next 2 bullets don't really apply. I should have deleted those. I apologize. But I don't believe any of the residents expressed any concerns with that neighborhood commercial piece. I believe that they were in support of that. So as a result of what I've just said and the fact that they're zoning it conventional and it's a commercial corner, something that the town is highly desires at this corner, town staff is recommending approval of the general plan amendment to change it to neighborhood commercial. And we also are recommending approval of the zone change to neighborhood commercial, creating another commercial corner, especially right across the street from one to the west, and one to the south. So we feel this is an appropriate request tonight, and we would ask that you approve this request and forward that along to the town council. There are a few conditions in the staff report, pretty standard boilerplate type of conditions. So that concludes my presentation, and if you have any questions for me, I would love to answer them. The applicant is also here. As you know, he's been here for a while tonight, so if you have questions for him, he can answer those too. So thank you very much.
Thank you kindly, Keith. Anyone have any questions that they'd like to forward to Keith related to this project? Okay, not seeing any. I'd like to ask the applicant if he would like to indulge us with any additional presenting.
Brennan Ray, 2325 East Camelback, here on behalf of the applicant Lennar Homes. We agree with staff. Thank you.
Okay. Well, with that then, I will open and see if anyone in the public wishes to speak on this one. I do not have any cards, and I don't see anyone. So with that then, anyone have any other questions that they wanted to proffer towards staff or the applicant? All right, then I will close the public comment, bring it to the dais for discussion and or a motion.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve GP 2502.
Motion to approve GP 2502. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Simon. Please cast your vote.
I did. Thank you. I pushed the freaking button. It's on.
Motion carries.
And Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve item Z as in Zulu 25-08 to the Harvest Grove Neighborhood Commercial Request to Rezone.
Motion to approve Z2508 from the Vice Chair. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Simon comes through with the second. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you all very much. Moving on through the agenda here, we find our way into administrative items. Administrative items are for the commission discussion and action. It is to the discretion of the majority of the commission regarding public input requests on only administrative items. Persons wishing to speak on an administrative item should complete a public comment card form indicating the item number on which you wish to address. The commission may or may not accept public comment. Scanning the crowd of participants here this evening, I do not see anyone, and I do not have any cards for the administrative items. So we have item 7, Planning Commission minutes. Consider the approval of the minutes of the study session and regular meeting, August 6th, 2025. Anyone have anything they wanted to discuss or make a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes from the August 6th, 2025 meeting.
We have a motion from Commissioner Davis for approval of the minutes.
I'll second it.
Second from Commissioner De Gravina. Thank you all. Please cast your vote. Minutes carry, 6-0. Well done. Communications. We do not have an executive session. Report from the chairman and members of the commission on current events. Who's got something? Anybody?
Kind of one. One of the public speakers, Mr. Guderian, said something about emailing us. Was that in a packet or did it go to our city emails? Because I don't even know where I would begin to try to log into my city email.
I think I can check with Ashley. We can do that offline.
Yeah.
Outside of the.
I hope that's still not a serious expectation.
Yeah, we'll get you set up with IT. Don't worry, Vice Chair. Okay, then we'll move to item number 9, the report from the Planning Services Manager on current events. Ms. Ashley.
Thank you, Chairman. No big updates tonight, other than a congratulations to Jenna Lyons and Raymond Huang for being reappointed as our alternates at the Town Council meeting last night.
Wow, well done. All right, let's give it up. Yeah, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
I think that's the first, usually there's always enough wonkiness that you don't get reappointed, so that's actually a good job.
and somehow all of you stayed. You know, usually. Strike that from the record. All right, moving right along then. We now have a thing called adjournment. Do we want to motion it, or do you want me just to call it here?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Simon, Vice Chair, with the second for an adjournment. Please cast your vote. Keep everything legal, above board. Look at that. Everyone voted in quick succession for adjournment. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time. Look, it's a short agenda. I was on the back, I'm like, oh, good, okay, where did this be?